All right, before we get too far down the rabbit hole with our Python programming here, I'm going to dive into something which I think is probably the most important process of the entire model development, and that's going to be documenting everything that we do. So I'm going to show you guys here on the GitHub. If you go to this other project, I'm going to start storing documents or templates that we're going to be using for this project, for other companies I work at, for other video series here as well, and it's going to be called Risk Management Docs. And if we open that up, we're going to have a document in here called Model Development Documentation Template. Like everything that lives on GitHub, it is going to be live. It is going to be changing. So when you go to download this, it might be more detailed. It might be a little bit different. But I'm going to dive in here to the importance of these real quick. So when we looked at our screenshots, and you'll see as I'm coding, I have little tiny notes within here. This is not acceptable for documentation of any sort of model. So just want to put that out here. That code, those notes are really for me as the model developer to jog my memory when I come back to make things, changes, edits, or everything here. Jupyter Notebook, I think, is complete awful trash, to be honest with you guys. I am shocked that people attempt to use it in production. I'm shocked that people use it for a variety of things as well. It's nice for templating, kind of trial and error, but when you're doing real model development and documentation, or you're building a project for your resume, a capstone project or something, you need a lot of detail on the decisions, the process, the analysis, and everything you did, because when you come back in 3, 6 months, 9 months, a year or two, you're not gonna remember any of this. So the first thing on the template here is going to be the model name, and I'm going to start filling this out for our project here, and I'll upload these so you can see them. I'm not going to bore you and show you guys me typing all this stuff out, but we'll make up like a version and a model ID. So in production, you will build a model, like for example, we're doing this probability of default model here for this project. In a year, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, we'll have a second version most likely. The business will decide it needs something else. The models will start to deteriorate, and we'll get through this cycle of redeveloping models over time here. So having versioning and model IDs when you get into bigger organizations is critical. For little side projects like this, not that important. And you're gonna have a model developer. You'll put your name in there. And of course, the date when you just start this process here. Now, I highly recommend you guys do all of this documentation as you develop. I will tell you realistically in practice, I tend not to do that. I tend to just build and build and build and build and build, and I forget some of my key information, and I tell my employees to document throughout the entire process. But it is best practice to do it throughout. But if you're like me, once in a while, you tend to just do it when you have time, or you do it towards the end of this here. Now, risk management practices, you'll have all of the model developers, their names, their titles, responsibilities. Often for big projects, you'll have the head of, the research project here, the developer, and you'll tend to have like some analysts underneath of that. Probably just going to be you for this coding example here. Also, model owners and users. A lot of times in big firms and in risk management, some people own a model, some people use the model. Sometimes 3, 4 departments are using a model for different things. All of these should be documented so that when something goes wrong with the model and I've saved this document somewhere, I can quickly figure out who I need to contact and say, hey, the model failed, or something's changing, or there's some sort of update with that. Now, the rest of the document is going to be more focused on model development until we get to the end section here on governance. But I'm going to try to write some of these up as if this was done at an actual firm so you guys can see a little bit more detail. It's going to be hard because I'm going to have to make things up as I go. But there should be like some sort of model summary at the beginning on this is a probability of default model. It's being used at, our company. We're using this to be decisioning off of, say like originations or approvals, or using it to set APRs. Like you're using it for something like that. And you should talk through this part. This will be filled out though, typically at the very, very end. So don't worry about that right now. We're working on the data part, and I'll show you here why this is important. But as we're doing these data Python programming videos, documenting out like the development, the validation, and the out of time timeframes, observations are in there. You'll see when you get into big firms, a lot of times you're pulling in data sources from multiple different vendors. So I might be pulling in like LexisNexis, I might be pulling in like Experian, TransUnion. I have internal data that I'm tracking. Maybe there's like a third party data source as well that's being pulled into this. Having all that information in the documentation is critical because the sales teams, the model users will come back typically and ask me the question. and I don't know, I don't remember. I built the model a year ago or something. Being able to come back in here and find that is important. I'll show you guys some examples of this in a later video once we kind of get churning through some more coding and model development here. And then conceptual soundness is going to be like, how did we select the variables for the model? How did we select the actual model structure? Was it a, logistic regression? Was it an XGBoost? Was it, an ARIMA, Remax, OLS? Like, this is going to be all of your charts, analysis, and information that you're gleaning through this model development process kind of boiled down onto a page so somebody can quickly come back and figure out why the model was engineered and designed the way it was. And then finally, you're going to have the results section. So talking about the performance, accuracy, robustness testing, statistical tests, and all that. And then you're going to go into something which I think is probably the most important part of the documentation. That's going to be model weaknesses and limitations. This is specifying like assumptions that were broken. Limitations are going to be things that there's no way I can fix them. Weaknesses are typically things that are something I could fix, but the results from that typically are worse. And talking about the weaknesses of that structure and design, maybe there's a data weakness, like I just don't have a good way to fill in the missing values, which we'll cover in this video series somewhere, where limitations be like, I just don't have any data. Like, their data that I need to do this is not available. It's a limitation that we have here. So we'll go through a little bit of that, and then challenger models and benchmarking. So as you build models, often it's not going to be like this is the world's best model and it solves every problem out there. It's going to be this model is slightly better than an old model or a benchmark or something that we're doing, and that's good enough. And here's the justification of that. And then finally, the governance side of this. So this is risk governance here, but model risk governance is getting through like the approvals, like who approved and signed off on the final models. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but there have been scenarios throughout my career where people have signed off in an email and then been very upset later when they found out the model was being used because they somehow wanted to do something different. And they got egg on their face because I have all these emails that I store, but having governance documents with official sign-offs and a company-wide policy is critical. It will help you with this process here. And again, it's going to be like the model owner, the head of the development teams. Typically when it goes through validation, which we'll talk about throughout these video series, doing documentation, validation, and going through all this. Those sign-offs from the validation team are critical as well to say that like the risk and the effective challenge occurred. And then we're going to talk about implementation plans and building these out. So I ran quant dev teams, so implementation teams, talking about APIs and setting up data pipelines and sources, and edge cases, and what do you do if the data comes in and it's empty, which yes, it happens from vendors from time to time, and you have to make a decision on the instantly on the fly. And then again, ongoing performance monitoring. So how do you monitor that model over time? And of course, approved usages. So no matter what model you build, I will promise you somebody will come along in the future and say like, oh, I didn't know that model existed. I think we could use it to do something completely different that's not relevant. And so that's going to tie into that as well here. And then of course, the appendix here is where you'll kind of embed documents, approvals, emails, things like that you probably want to put in and reference, but they kind of get in the way of just reading a quick, simple report here. So that is going to be the model documentation here.